I'm Rapha Stacks. I'm building Jing.Cash swap without slippage. And this is the story of me becoming Rapha Stacks, someone who never looks back. So the agenda, I'll tell you about the story, and then I'll share a piece of code that is being audited, which is an ability to swap between stacks and Bitcoin, and then what the auditor says, and then how I'm remediating to his suggestions. But before I tell you the story, I want to pause on the purpose. This is lots of text, but essentially, I started my career in 2008 as a sales structure at an investment bank during the Great Financial Depression. And I remember feeling a bit moved and really moved by the fact that the financial system was imbalanced and there was no solution to it. I didn't see any solution. And so ever since, this idea has haunted me. And so fast forward, and so when I discovered stacks, actually it was immediately seduced by the idea of programmable money and building a financial system that is more robust, that cannot be tampered with human governance, but just code. So 3 years after I discovered stacks in 2019, so this is me in December 2022, participating in the Bitcoin Startup Lab. And I'm sprinting right here to join a top tier team to be able to finish the graduation of the lab. At that time, I didn't know how to code, or wasn't my craft. I had not been coding like as my craft. And long story short, I failed. I failed to join that team, and I failed. But I persevered. I persevered because of that purpose I mentioned, that I really wanted to build on Stacks, that Stacks has that potential of building things that are more robust for the financial global system. And so I learned Clarity. I went to the Clarity bootcamp. And a few months later, I published the SBTC call option smart contract on testnet alongside with this really simple UI, Vite UI. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. Clarity Camp was really hard to me. Today, it feels really, really simple, but at the time, it was hard because it's designed more for developers themselves. And the mentors there were wonderful, Akansha and Maria Verse. So I completed that thing. And then after that, I took the 100 Days of Clarity. I recommend it for beginners in Clarity. That's a video course by Seth Zeus. Went through the Bitcoin Starter Lab twice in a matter of 6 months. And during that period, I had 5 prospective startup partners. Learned a ton from them. Very, very talented people. Never worked with as talented people as these people before. Long story short, didn't work out. Now I'm building on my own, and slowly but surely continue to learn. So took courses online. I recommend Code with Mosh for front-end development, and also took advice from other developers in the ecosystem, such as Leo from Seigel, who taught me about backend development. Finally, this is the piece of code I wanted to share. So I'm building this contract. It's a fork of Freeger. It allows you to swap from Bitcoin directly to Stacks. The way it works is the Stacks sender is going to collateralize or lock Stacks, an amount of Stacks on the Stacks blockchain. And then the Bitcoin sender is going to send the Bitcoin to the Stacks sender on Bitcoin, share that transaction with Clarity. Clarity, in turn, is able to read and verify that this is correct and unlocks the Stacks to the Stacks sender. And so this is a cancel swap function that the auditor spotted, and he wasn't happy with that UX. And the UX he recommended was a much better one. He suggested that the way I had built it forced the Stacks sender to cancel the swap once the offer was expired. And that is pretty bad in terms of UX, because there is a cooldown period that is baked into this because of Bitcoin's ability to fork. And so we don't want that. We want the offer to expire on itself, and then the offer to still be able to be taken by anyone, and so to still be able to be valid. And so this is the remediation that I built, essentially a protection for being able to, essentially, that's what I built. But we can come back to this later in the questions. My reflection on the story, the whole thing, is that life is painful. No matter how you look at it, and there's essentially two paths. You either decline or stagnate, and pain will find you. It will find you in either you become unhealthy or you become unhappy. Or you can choose pain with purpose. It will still be painful, but at least you'll have a fulfilled life. And that's, I don't know if you know this person. This person is known as the hardest man on earth. He's a Navy SEAL. And this is his change. He's a pretty awesome guy. David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, if you haven't read his book. This is the end. So I choose pain and I choose purpose. That's why I'm building on stacks. I don't want to look back, and it's hard, but I enjoy it. And today I'm building this Jing.Cash, so the ability to swap between Bitcoin and stacks in a peer-to-peer way. Thank you.
Rafa, question. So you were not a developer before joining the Clarity Camp.
Correct.
You learned Clarity as a non-developer.
Yes.
Man,
it was very hard. Like I couldn't understand much. It was really hard. But one thing, I don't know if you asked your question, but one thing that helped me was that code is like math, right? It either works or it doesn't. So if it doesn't work, it's because there's something that I'm doing that's wrong. And that was really helpful. And also like Akanksha and Mariaverse were incredible.
so how do you describe yourself like today? Are you a Clarity developer? Are you like a full stack developer? Are you a stacks developer?
Yeah, so I really want to build things that people want to use. So I'm taking a thesis. I don't really care how it's done, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So thing is, I've always, even though I wasn't a developer, I've always wanted to code. So for example, at my investment bank job, I coded a macro in VBA that allowed for spinning amortization schedules, and then everyone around, like all the desks were actually using that. So I did that on my own. Then at my job at a French investment bank, I actually coded another macro, and then that allowed to automatize the job of like 2 or 3 people for cleaning up some accounting stuff. And then, like ever since, like I'd never had like a role as of a developer, but always took initiative on my own. And so I thought I was mistaken in my career path. And finally, I think like I'm doing the hard thing. I'm like, okay, I can code and I can rely on myself to get things done, to build the things and to become the engine of the building.
Love it. Does anyone in the group have any like questions or any comments that they want to share with Rafa?
Yeah, can you?
So actually, if nobody has, okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you could dig into a little bit more the fix that you made in the code, because I think so. I mean, I want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. Did you basically, what had to happen before was the person that was swapping their stacks had to manually go in and like initiate a cancel swap transaction, whereas now you set another parameter called expire block height, and at that point, does that like trigger like a chain hook so then it'll automatically cancel the swap, or does that just add a new parameter so that swap is now considered invalid in the map or something else?
Yeah, exactly. So instead of the offer, the STX sender who locks the stacks, having to go and click and call the function cancel swap, which cancels the swap. And actually at the time it was also taking the STX collateral back to their wallet. Instead of that, there's simply an expired height, and then the Bitcoin sender, the person who reserves the option to swap, no longer has that option to do so if it's expired. And I actually had a question, if nobody has a question. Why did I do it this way in the first place? Why do you think so? Essentially, the way it was done before was there's an offer to swap with STX locked, and then when it expires, the offer can cancel it, had to cancel it, right? But couldn't cancel before, right? There's like a period during which once I'm the Bitcoin sender, I reserve that swap, I can swap it, but I don't have to. It's the right, but not the obligation, right? Like an option. So once it was expired, then the XTS sender had to cancel it. Otherwise, the Bitcoin sender could still swap. And there was a reason why I did it this way, which I discussed with the auditor. And I'm wondering if anyone knows why I did it this way. As you can see here, so STX sender can cancel if it's not reserved, line 129, or if it's expired. And they had to do so, otherwise the Bitcoin sender could still swap. Why did I do it this way? Somebody has a clue? So it was like a very, very edge case of what happens if the Stacks blockchain is congested and the STX sender claims that, hey, I wasn't able to cancel the swap. Even though it was expired, the offer to swap was expired, I wasn't able because it was congested. And so this was giving the STX sender and the Bitcoin sender, it was putting both of them on a fair race to either cancel the swap or swap it. Does it make sense? It's a little technical here, but yeah.
So without this now and using like the expiry flag,
yes,
it kind of gives the originator of the swap like it's not necessarily an unfair advantage, but like the way you're saying it is, I don't have to deal with the congestion because I have this flag that will automatically expire it on my side, but the other person to accept it would need to deal with the congestion.
yeah. So
Okay.
I'm actually not solving that issue anymore, right? This would be unfair, so to speak, but it's a very edge case. And also, there's a saying in French, I don't know how it translates in English, but to the impossible, nobody is bound. I cannot solve for like that congestion issue. They have to have that taken care of, right? If you are the Bitcoin sender and you have reserved that swap, you have to know that it will expire after the expiration, right?
Yeah, that's
So
what I was going to say. I think the key is as long as you're showing them that expiry block at the time, right? When they make then it's like fair disclosure. You knew it was coming, and when that block hit, it hit. So it's kind of self-responsibility of dealing with your own swaps.
Also, in the decision making, there is something to say about the user experience of the STX sender, which is much smoother now because it expires on its own and the offer still is valid. And that's a benefit that is much greater than having to deal with congestion issues, which is an edge case, right? The ability, like if the person who reserves the swap doesn't swap, then it's expired and my offer is still valid and somebody can still take it. So that's a much better
I like it better. Yeah,
yes.
Because now as being the counterparty, I have a fixed expiry block as opposed to whenever the person I'm swapping with decides to call cancel swap, right? I'm not constantly wondering, are they going to cancel this on me? I just know at this block, it expires.
There was an expiration already. There was an expiration already, meaning that STX sender couldn't cancel prior to expiration. So it's a little bit like an option without it being a security, by the way. There's no ability to resell the option because that would trigger legal issues and so on. But that was already the case, right? But that you, as the person who reserves the swap, you have time until you can actually do the swap, and afterwards the exchange seller had to cancel it, right? But it's an edge case. The real reason is that this is a much better user experience for the STX sender because now the offer is still valid. So, and also there's something to say with the fact that the STX needed to be cooled down because Bitcoin can fork, right? So if Bitcoin forks and I send you the Bitcoin and then I'm not able to get the stacks because Bitcoin forked, that's an issue, right? So anyways, I'm going to the weeds here, but I hope you understood Trip and Monkey and everyone else.
Yeah, awesome. That was great. Thank you for walking us through all that. The first official code and tell of Clarity Collective ever. So thank you. Appreciate
Thank you
that.
for the opportunity.
Thanks for being the pioneer, Rapha. Is there anything that the group here and in the Discord chat can do to help or support what you're building?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm going to make it like a zero fee. I've decided that it not only it's open source, maybe not the front end, but everything else is obviously open source, and it's going to be zero fee. So currently I can show you, but I'm building the UI, so there'll be an order book, and it'll be focused on STX Bitcoin. You know, try it out. Try it out. So it'll be on Jing.Cash. It's better if you're in the Telegram so that you can talk to other whales. So it's more like for whales or people who want to swap from Bitcoin to Stacks. So maybe Stacks pools, Stacks miners who have opposite needs that need to swap from Bitcoin and Stacks every 2 weeks. But yeah, I'll continue from there. I'll finish this idea, and yeah, I'll try it out. Like if you want to swap from Bitcoin to Stacks, Jing.Cash, currently building on factory.fund just to share my progress with everyone. So you can go there, but it's soon to be audited and live on mainnet.
Amazing. So it is accessible as of now, but it is in the process of being audited and soon to be live on mainnet. Okay, fantastic. Trippin' Monkey, go ahead. See your hand up.
Oh, just I wanted to throw in a little testimonial user story behind it. You know, the Rue group was doing the Stacks Invader stuff, and I thought it was really cool when, you know, those were one of one, like DMT mints. Every Stacks Invader is specific to the block that it was minted on, and there were like different traits and things like that. And it was neat to see how quickly you could like add in a Stacks Invader as something that was swappable, because what ended up happening was, you know, the I think this was back when it was the Neon still, but all of a sudden a console group opened up and it was like OTC Stacks Invaders, because these things weren't supported on Gamma or anything yet. So they opened up a console room and they were able to do like OTC swaps of, hey, I'll put this Stacks Invader up for this price, and just do peer-to-peer transactions and manage it all through the zero slippage swap capabilities. So I think that was a nice use case that filled a gap, and the community within Rue and wanting to trade those Stacks Invaders or create their own little marketplace, it worked out really well for them.
I appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome. Thanks, Trippin. And
Yeah.
another hand for Senatron.
Yeah, I'm just have quick question for my friend Rafa. You know, I'm not technical guy, I'm the hipster, not hacker. So I just have a question about like how it's possible to swap Bitcoin to Stacks, since Bitcoin does not have smart contracts where liquidity comes from, how this process goes on. Like if I make this question like retail, like just simple guy.
Yeah. So I'm using a work, like we're standing on shoulders of giants here, like Frieger, Jude, all these people made it possible for Clarity to read through libraries, right? Through Stacks library to read, and Kenny knows about it, to read the Bitcoin state. So first step, you lock your Stacks. There's a cooldown of 6 blocks so that you're not impacted by any Bitcoin forks. And now you make an offer. How much sats, how much Bitcoin do you want for that pack of Stacks? And then that is done on the Stacks smart contract side. So the Bitcoin standard can accept or can actually create a bid, right? So there's an ask from the STX standard and a bid in Satoshis, right? Once they agree on a price in Bitcoin, say, I don't know, 35,000 stacks, half a Bitcoin. They agree on that. Now, me as the Bitcoin sender, I need to send you the 0.5 Bitcoin to your Bitcoin wallet. And then I share that transaction with the Clarity smart contract, which in turn is able to read and verify that this was the case, and unlocks in the same transaction, it will unlock the 35,000 stacks and send it to your wallet.
So it's like escrow, yeah? So man in the middle exists there or not? I just don't understand that
The contract,
automatization.
so the contract allows you to bid and ask for an amount of stacks that is locked. Say 35,000 stacks is locked. Okay, I want, you're locking the stacks, you want 0.6 Bitcoin. I'm offering 0.5. Now we agreed on 0.5. And now I can send you the 0.5 on Bitcoin layer 1, share that transaction with the contract that reads it, and unlocks the 35,000 stacks to me. It's an
Okay.
option, by the way. I don't have to do it.
Rapha, I have a question too about that.
Ross,
Is there
yeah.
like docs for like dealing with reading Bitcoin state for Clarity? Because like I mean I know the Clarity like APIs really well, but like it's just always seemed something that there wasn't a lot of
Yeah.
examples of.
There's like I can share the contracts themselves directly with you.
Yeah,
And maybe
that works
Kenny
too.
has an answer if you know if she's yeah. Yeah. And
There's a library that Fried he has documented kind of, but it's incomplete. Rafa, I don't know if you have the link to the docs that he set up for it in addition to the contract, but if not, I'll dig them up. And then I'm working on adding a section to the Stacks docs too that kind of talks about exactly what's happening. But Frieger does have his library, which I think is what Rafa's documented a little bit. So I'll try to find the link to his docs that he set up, and then I'm going to add add a link to that to the Stacks docs as well.
yeah. Yeah, Ross, I didn't go into the weeds of how the library works and so on. Like this was already built by Fridger and Jude and so on. I just added a few business logic, smart contract operations to be able to bid and ask on that stacks. And then
Yeah.
also like for the
I'm
entire
just kind of
contract
like
to works.
trying to wrap my head around like how a library works for Clarity, because like Clarity doesn't have packages obviously, so like how does that?
It uses a smart contract. So I have like dependencies and they use
Oh.
other smart contracts.
So
And
it's
then,
like a deployed contract we're using as like effectively like a
yes.
package.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty. Yeah, it's not technically a library in like the normal sense that you'd think of it in like an object-oriented language. It's basically just a deployed contract that we're calling
Okay.
a
I think
It's just it's
I
infrastructure that's out there. It's
think of these things as like like if you work in machine learning or any of the data science stuff, one of the huge big things that kind of goes around is like executable microservices that have like an interface or an API attached to them, so that these data scientists can just use them to like get data out of these packages. And I've started to think of like these smart contracts as small executable programs that happen to live on chain and expose things via an API. So yeah, it's a Clarity contract, and yes, it's on chain, and it's not something like you can create a reference to and ingest like a DLL or anything. But
yeah,
at
no,
the
I
same
get
point,
it. Like
inside it is that executable code, and if you do it as a trait, you can actually test to make sure certain things implement them. So
no, I get it. I get it. Like
yeah.
I just think of contracts like microservices. Like that's my mental model, and I just got thrown off by like a library. I was like, what, But yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, if you can just send me a link to it, that'd be awesome. Because I've been trying to think of ways I can build more like tightly coupled to like Bitcoin state. So that would be awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I'll track down that link, and then I think Rafa has the link to the contract, but I'll track down the link to the docs, and I'll put that in the Clarity collective chat. Tag you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, guys.
Just want to take a second to acknowledge just how enjoyable that was for me to watch you guys all kind of like collaborate ideas and pick apart and ask questions on each other's work. We've been doing the Clarity Collective for almost 2 months, if not 3+ months at this point. And we do these weekly. So, Trippin, I know this was your first time. We do these weekly at the same time, but this was really enjoyable to be a part of because like what you all just did for the last 25 minutes is the reason why we do it. We want you to connect and support and question and push back and challenge, and ultimately as a result of all those things combined in this like recipe is you all become better builders, and you also feel and know that you have the support of this community behind the work that you are building. So yeah, I'm just taking a second to appreciate all of the feedback, all the commentary, all the questions, and everything that just kind of transpired for the last 25 minutes. That's all I have for today. Kenny, I don't know if you want to share or add anything else, but we can wrap here unless anyone else has any other closing thoughts or questions or anything that they want to share before we close out.
I will share something.
Go ahead, Ross.
I was just gonna say, y'all should use my app and try it out. Especially you, Rapha, because I've been using yours, so you gotta pay me back the favor. Also, it's really fun to use. So
Yeah, I'm a charisma back holder.
yeah, but that's just half of it. You gotta use the protocol. That's where it's really at, man.
Yep. I'm definitely going to look at it, and if I can collaborate at some point once I'm done with this, and if I have like a bit of like a few days to
Oh, I
do
promise
anything.
you, as soon as you're like, why didn't I do this like a month ago? All right, that's all I gotta say. I'm done filling.
I was just gonna throw in if you ever need somebody to jump in for a code intel, you can put me on the list of, you give me a day's notice. I'm happy to jump in and do something similar.
Yeah, I would love to. I don't know if we've mapped out the agenda for next week, but we do want to make these regular. So we'll definitely let you know, Trippin, when we are going to have the next code intel and we can get you slotted up so you can do that.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I don't think I had anything else. Just, well, one really quick thing. Keep an eye out. Hopefully later this week, I've been working on a big reorganization of the docs. And so once that's published, which will hopefully be this week, I'll throw a link in the chat. And if you guys want to, if you have bandwidth to just quick kind of run through it, any feedback you guys have, trying to make the docs as easy to navigate and as useful as possible. So that'll hopefully be up this week.
I have a question for you, Kenny, while I've got you on a call. Is there any word on like when either of the test nets will get the fast blocks?
Yeah, I need to find out about that today because last I heard it was going to be like pretty soon, and I thought it was going to be up already.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to try to find out some more like hard date information today, and I'll post that in the chat once I hear back because I'm honestly a little out of the loop on that too, and I'm going to try to get some more information on that.
Yeah, that was my first kind of like yellow flag that I saw in the spring, that we were like cruising up on the Nakamoto date, but then, didn't really see fast blocks on a test net or anything like that. And it's starting to, at least from an external person, just as feedback, it starts to make me feel a little nervous when like the production releases on the 28th and the test nets are not updated yet, like for builders to test their stuff out with.
Yep. Yeah, let me find out some information on that, and I'll post in the collective chat as soon as I hear back from some core devs.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for voicing that too, Trippin. There was a few other builders I'm in a few chats with that were kind of asking the same questions. So I'm gonna help Kenny track down more of the solidification around those dates and then like the roadmap and make sure you guys get access to that. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, gang, we can wrap here. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll post this recording into the Discord, and Kenny will also post his findings once he gets a second to get to those in the Discord. And if you guys need anything else, get in touch. Appreciate the time. This was fun. Thanks, Rapha.